Do I say it jokingly? This is a good one. Like my kids always make fun, but I think it is a good one. Lynn, Jeannie, and I talk about being in a sorority. We were all in a sorority. No spoiler alert. Big surprise, but we were all in a sorority in our respective schools. And I just took Georgia on a college tour, and I wanted to get everybody's perspective about being in a sorority. Not everybody has a fully positive experience. I had a great experience, and I wanted to hear what these ladies had to say. And I think it was a good conversation. We talked about, obviously, sorority life, but we talked about other things too, as I usually do with my friends. So thank you for coming back every week. Thank you for all your emails. And I hope you enjoy this episode about sororities with Lynn and Jeannie.
I'm sorry, if colleges are getting rid of SATs and ACTs?
Well, then let's talk about this. If we're going to talk about it, bring your mic.
Why the hell is a Catholic school still requiring a test to get in if colleges don't need an SAT? It really, if you want to do a placement test to see what classes they should be in.
That's what it is for,
but
it's 100% about
then just
placement.
look at their middle school schedule. You can figure it out if they're in honors classes or not in honors classes.
Maybe so. Yeah. Not all schools have honors classes.
That's true. I don't know. I just feel like it should be optional. It creates way too much anxiety in the kids. It's really, really stressful on top of an already stressful 8th grade year and applying to schools. And I think if colleges don't need an SAT, then high schools shouldn't need an entrance test.
Here's what I'll say to that. I agree with you mostly, but I feel like removing all anxiety from a child's life is not a good plan. Okay. They should have anxious moments. You're going to have a job interview. It may not be taking a test, but you're going to have moments where you have to go into a situation where you're really anxious and you're stressed out and you have to overcome it.
Right.
So and the second thing I'll say about that is I think it is, I'm telling you, when both my kids took this test, they made it really clear. I'm sorry, you have to beep out. But they made it really clear that this was not about admission. They made it clear. This is about placement for classes. And so
But then I think have them take it after they're admitted.
Well, then that's a great plan. Totally a great plan.
I think then once they're admitted and you know they're going there and you're going to have to do their schedule, then have them take this test. I love that plan. Because they already know they're in, so it's removed that aspect. Yeah. And then when if they didn't get in, it's not, they don't feel like it's because they were dumb and they did bad on that test.
That's a good point. Now, I would totally sign off on that. But my experience, I called them and was like, listen, I have a dyslexic child. She needs more time. And they're like, she can totally have it. And we're just going to say this one more time. This is just about planning her schedule.
Right.
And I believe that. They told me in no uncertain terms that they base it on the daughter's interest level in the school. Mm-hmm. They want kids to go to school there that want to be there.
Yeah, I agree with
that. It's about their interview and about kind of the feeling they get. Does this kid really want to be here? Because if she wants to be here, then we want her here. Mm-hmm. And the rest of it works itself out.
But I also think, for me, because my daughter is incredibly shy.
Yes, she is.
She totally looks disinterested, but she's not. She just has so much anxiety and so much. The whole pandemic did not sit well with her. Yeah. No, she really is a different kid now. But so she's gone to everything. She's gone to the life day, the visit, the step up day, and she's went to this thing this weekend. And the admissions woman remembered her.
Sure,
but I also think. She had to go take the test, but I also think for her, that was good for her to go, this girl's getting up. She was up at 7 a.m.
So she shows interest.
To go to interest where she doesn't exude interest because she's not like, rah, rah, I can't wait to go here. But she does. That is her number one choice.
Right.
But she just doesn't. So I think having those things and just making her feel comfortable in a situation that is high anxiety for her was good, even though she hated it and she's not mad. She's not happy with me for having to go, but at least she was there. She showed interest. She kind of got to feel because she's going to take standardized tests for the rest of, they're going to be to get into college. They're going to be at school. She's going to have to learn how to take tests.
Yeah.
And she hasn't for 2 years.
Right.
And I know at the brother school of your daughter's school.
Yeah.
Also letters, because I've written a lot of letters for kids, and I've said, I know from speaking to the parents and speaking to the child, this is their first choice.
Yeah,
so you can do that on behalf of.
I should do that for your daughter. Yeah, I will, because I did it for.
It makes a big difference.
I did it for Dakota.
Yeah. It does make a big difference. They want to. They want, especially to hear that they're already connected to the school in some way. is like, oh, they're already feeling this connection because they're close with this family. And you can say, like, I've known her almost her whole life, you know, and all that. And it helps.
Our school loves our family.
I know. So that's why I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. It should really help.
Yeah, they should love our family because we donate a lot to the school.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously, that's not really how it works entirely.
Yeah.
But we are very generous.
Was the 80s party you went to a party for the school on Saturday?
It was the gala.
I assumed that.
And it was so fun. And
you must have just rocked it.
I did, but
the shoulder pads were pretty amazing.
Right? Can you believe I bought that dress at Marshall's like 2 weeks ago?
Oh, really?
They sold that dress at Marshall's. That's where I bought that dress.
Oh, I assumed it was vintage.
Oh, no. No, I went to Marshall's to look for something else. And it was the first rack when you walk in the door. And I went, oh my God, well, that's my 80s
And the
gala.
shoulder pads were already in there?
They were already in it.
Are they making a comeback?
I think maybe the Carringtons are coming back.
Oh my goodness.
Right? The Ewings, the Carringtons.
Wow.
They're all coming back. But yeah, I when the word gala is attached, one would assume you dress up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of flash dances at that party.
Well,
and I was like, damn it. Well, I would have worn my Reeboks and leg warmers and been comfortable.
You could have gone in a different direction.
But I totally, and I'd say 85-90% of the people went that direction.
Oh,
and so
funny.
I was like, there was one other woman in the most amazing like prom dress, and she had the front of her hair in a side pony, and she had black lace elbow length gloves and lace tights and this royal blue prom dress.
Amazing.
And
wait, don't you have a royal blue prom dress?
I do, but it's in Georgia, so it's unavailable. But I was like, that's my kind of people right there. They had a blast. Now, one of Isla's closest friends' parents came dressed like Miami Vice. And I was like, that's also good.
That's awesome.
Her dad was like peach blazer and really light jeans. It was awesome. It was really fun.
I went to an 80s party a few years ago, and I did the whole side pony with the high sprayed bangs. And I had a fluorescent pink, and I had ordered all the black rubber bracelets. I had those going all the way up my arm. But I still have my sticker book from the 80s.
You do?
With the puffies and the googly eyes.
I remember
and all
those.
of the rainbow and all those stickers. So I walked around all night with my sticker book asking anyone if they wanted to trade stickers with me.
Oh my God. That's hysterical.
Did you take out one of your little bands and hand them to your friends?
Right? You would trade those bands, right? Give them to each other. That's funny. Well, it was a really fun party. And the thing I like about our school, I was talking about this with two other moms that were there. We were riding home together, and this school is just the most normal group of parents. And there are, obviously we're in Hollywood. There are famous parents there, but it's just the most regular group of people. And so many people were just, making fools of themselves and not thinking twice about it.
That's awesome.
Which I go, that's what you want to raise your kid in that environment. I don't need anybody to be stuffy and, super important in their own mind.
Yes.
Nobody there was that way. It was so fun. I love this school. I can't say enough good things. Not that anybody knows what school they're in, hopefully, but it's really good when you find a like-minded group of people, which is what our neighborhood was in elementary school, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of Georgia because Georgia is the person that sussed it out. She went to other schools, private and public, all in our neighborhood when we were looking at schools. And when she went to this school, she got in the car and went, that's my people.
Yeah.
And I think she was right.
I remember hearing that from another mom whose daughter just graduated last year, she said she went to Step Up Day and got back in the car and was like, we don't need to apply anywhere else.
That's what my girls did that after Step Up Day, because they were like, Georgia said they were doing like mock trial and debate team, and they were doing like demonstrations of this is what's going on at school at Step Up Day. And Georgia said, I didn't watch what they were doing. I watched the girls. I watched the girls that were students watch the girls demonstrating, and I liked how they were watching them. They weren't stinky. They weren't petty. They weren't cliquey. They were all like on the same team. Now, obviously, there's still cliques and there's still pettiness and there's still drama because it's all girls.
And it's high school.
And it's all girls.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think it's been a really, really good experience. And all those girls there just seem to be just regular. They almost seem like public school kids in a private school. That's most of them. Yeah. Not all of them, obviously, but.
Yeah, so right after her visit day, like where she went to school, we were at our school, the brother school, they had like their pride night or whatever. So we were there, and Sydney went with us, and like Carter, ran off with all his friends. And we were just walking around, and these two girls from that school came, like they crossed the corridor to Sydney.
Oh.
And they were like, "Hi, do you remember us? We saw you at your life visit day, and we just wanted to come over and say hi."
So
like they came over from across, and they were there for social because your girls, or the girls at your daughter's school, go to the football games at my son's school. So I'm trying.
Yeah, you're doing an excellent job.
Yeah,
excellent job.
And so it was like their social time. It was their time to see the boys and do all the things, because they had a lot of things set up. And these girls went clear across campus to say hi to her.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
And that was I was like, of course, crying. And Sydney goes, "Mom, stop crying, stop crying." And I was like, "That's just what I want for you. I just want you to be someplace where the girls are nice."
Yeah, that's it.
And it's a good environment. And that was something that they didn't need to do, and they did
Yes,
it.
Oh, that's
totally.
so nice.
And not every girl would do that. Totally.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Not every girl would do that. And we went to a lot of schools where I thought in my brain, these girls are not for. They're not for this is not where we need to be. And I was really impressed that my girls came up with the same answer.
Yeah.
We went to one school, another all-girls school, and Georgia got in the car after that, and she went, "The school's fine, the girls are not." And I went, "Okay, moving on."
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. You're going to spend 4 years with these people.
Yeah.
You better at least find one or two,
Yep.
Anyway, which brings us to a sorority.
I was about to say, speaking of all girls, yeah.
So let me tell you why I came up with this idea. George and I went to University of Oregon. We went to Oregon last weekend, maybe Veterans Day weekend, because she applied to U of Oregon and OSU. And she has no point of reference for Oregon, but something inside her feels like that's where she needs to go to college.
Okay.
Right? So I was like, well, let's go check it out. So she and I went by ourselves, and at the University of Oregon, we're driving through campus. And what we've been doing, we've not been taking formal tours because we've been doing like virtual tours online. And she gets really stressed out if it's too like intense. She feels like she's being fire hosed when we're in like this like organized group tours. Too much.
Yeah.
So we just drive through the campus, and then we'll park and walk through the campus, and then we'll go eat somewhere on campus, and we just kind of people watch.
Feel the vibe. Yeah.
Feel the vibe. So we're driving. We always find the Greek area, even though she says she's not really interested in Greek. Both her parents were Greek. So we're like, you don't rule it out. We don't care if you are or not, but just don't have some preconceived notion of what it is until you experience it, and then rule it out if you don't like it. So we're driving through, and there's a KD house. Now, I have not seen a KD house outside of the South ever. And I haven't seen one in forever. And I actually lost my little freaking mind. And when we were there, I started telling her all the positive experiences I had from being in a sorority. And I said, I know Lynn was in a sorority. We should talk about what that experience was like. Not all of it's good for everybody. Bert's sister had a terrible experience. I don't know if terrible's. She didn't have a great experience. She didn't have my experience in a sorority. And I have 2 sorority experiences. I went to schools for 2 years and was a KD, and then I transferred to a school that did not have my sorority. So I became an affiliate of another sorority, and it was a completely different experience. So I really do kind of have 2 experiences within the Greek system that I wanted to talk about, and then see what you guys thought about your experiences. And I'm happy to hear if it was terrible, because I think what's best for everybody, for anybody listening, for my daughter to hear, is a real picture, not just my picture. Bert obviously had a great time in the Greek system, but so did I. But I also really wouldn't have joined it if I had started in the second school. I wouldn't have done it. So anyway, tell me about your experience and what sorority? I know you and I.
We just figured out.
Wait, you're Kappa Delta too?
Yes.
Oh my God.
What are you Kappa Delta too?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I remember that, Lynn.
Yeah.
You guys, do you remember the KAPPADELTA Kappa Delta?
Yes. Oh my God! I didn't realize you were a KD.
We are sisters.
Oh my God!
San Jose State.
Where? San Jose State.
Yeah.
And I was West Virginia University.
And I was West Georgia University.
Okay.
Oh my God,
funny.
Lynn!
This is
I didn't know
hilarious.
that. You probably told me that, and I just forgot.
That's okay.
And we didn't wear our KD sweatshirts. I don't have any.
Don't even know where mine are.
Yeah. I don't know where my original ones are, but Bert gave me this for Christmas last year.
I don't.
That's crazy.
I used to have a ton, but I did call Leanne on. Do you remember that you were supposed to be wearing pearls if you were wearing your letters?
Oh,
you were not allowed to wear your letters without pearls, and Leanne is not wearing pearls.
Well, I think
Kappa Delta alumni, you need to get on this, girl.
I know, right? Sorry.
I think it was different for the South than it is for
well,
California.
West Virginia University, definitely, you were supposed to wear your pearls.
I remember when she told me that, I was like, oh, shit, yeah. If you have your letters on, you had to wear pearls.
You're also not supposed to curse if you're wearing your letters.
Oh, I forgot that, too.
I didn't remember that part.
Well, I'm going to get stripped of my letters.
I was going to say, I for sure didn't do that part, because you know me, but I...
That's why I could never wear them.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't curse.
Not with my language.
Oh, it's so funny. I cannot believe we were all the same sorority.
I can't believe that either. That is crazy.
I had no idea that you were.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't strike you as that type, right?
No, I don't think that's, I think that's the number one thing is like a sorority that's in the South, even if it's in like California where I was, it's different. I think it's a different experience based on what kind of school you go to. I went to a commuter school, so it was a little different. It wasn't like the whole, everyone lives in the same house and all the same time. And so it's a little different.
Probably a little less intense.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, my second school was a commuter school, and that was a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Although there were pieces of it that were similar, it was not the same. But did you like being in a sorority?
So I joined because I was the first in my family to go to college. So I had no frame of reference. I didn't have like a mom or aunt or anyone who like went and was like, this is what you need to do. But I worked at this law firm, and there was this woman, and she was just so outgoing. She's really nice. She's like, just rush. And I was like, look, I am not the rah-rah like girl. I worked through high school. Like no nonsense. I don't have time for that shit. Type of person. And I haven't changed.
No,
I haven't changed.
Same.
And so I was like, okay, fine. Like, because I really, not that I wanted to get her off my back, but I was like, I like her. I know her. I've known her for 6 years now. There's probably something to it. So I rushed, and we had, I don't know, I want to say like maybe 6 or 7, like it was a commuter school. It wasn't a big Greek school. And so I went through all the house, like, you go through all the houses, you go through rush, and which is a grueling process for someone who's not like totally outgoing and rah-rah and happy-go-lucky. And so I ended up at KD, and I had no idea that she was a KD.
Oh, no way.
Oh my God.
None. And so she's like, I sent some letters off for you. And I was like, she's like, I'm not going to tell you what sorority I'm in until like you decide.
Wow.
And so like her daughters were in sororities too. So they wrote me letters. So I had like some letters, and so then I told her, and she was like, I'm a KD. And I was like, what? And so it was really cool. And then when I actually got initiated, she came to my initiation.
Oh, how cool.
So that was really
so
neat.
nice.
So that's how I did it. Just mainly it was a commuter school. I wanted to get involved because I didn't really know anyone. I lived at home, and I picked my sorority because, again, the girls were really down to earth. They weren't like, tons of makeup and looking beautiful all the time. And they just seemed really down to earth girls. And they didn't have a huge house that you had to live in because I didn't want to have to live in, because my grandmother honestly had a house. So I lived by myself in a house.
Oh, got it.
And so I had my own personal like space. And so I didn't, going and sharing a house with 40, 50 other girls is not something that I really knew if I wanted to do.
Right.
And I didn't want to be committed to having to do that. Plus, again, I paid for my way through college. I worked my way through college. I paid for my sorority dues. I did all of that. So I didn't want to get into a financial situation where I couldn't afford to be in a sorority.
Sure.
So that was my story.
That's how you got in. How did you get in?
So West Virginia University, you kind of have to be in a sorority or fraternity for social life, because the whole social life is really the parties. And if you're not Greek, it's hard to get into the other fraternity parties. Like you have to be in a sorority. So I decided to rush freshman year, and it's like as soon as you get there, pretty much. And same thing. It's funny because I know they're all different at every school, but the KDs at West Virginia University were definitely not they were more down to earth. They were known as being really fun. So that was like definitely drew me to that one more, because there were, like I felt like Alpha Phi was like the perfect girls, and they always had all their makeup on, and I just was like, I remember walking in there and being like, oh my gosh, this is not for me. But the whole process is very intense, especially when you have just gotten to college and you are having to wear different outfits every night and go to all these parties and rush and then find out if you even got into a sorority. But I got into KD with like the other girl, another girl who I was really good friends with on my floor, which was nice. And I liked it for social reasons and the girls were nice. I didn't love the whole like that they were instantly my best friends because I think that I'm just more like skeptical of that and it felt a little fake and disingenuous to me.
Interesting.
So I did it for social reasons, but like anytime there was like a meeting that we all had to go to at the house and stuff, I just like totally dreaded it because
you know what I did? I got really mad because I hated how long the meetings were.
Yeah.
Because I had better things to do with my time. So I didn't.
Yeah, totally.
So that's so out of character for you.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So
totally.
I actually got really mad. I got really pissed off. And so I was like, you know, fuck this. I'm going to run for president. And so I ran for president. I won.
Of course you did.
Of course you did.
No, I won. And then I was like, okay, if you want to talk at the meetings, you need to submit something to me 48 hours in advance. And if you don't get to talk.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
And so our meetings went from like an hour and a half to literally 30 minutes.
Amazing.
Yeah. Ours were too long. Sometimes girls would be upset with other girls over things that happened because ours was Sunday nights.
Yep.
Ours was too.
And like there was like literally a pass the teddy bear and it was safe to say what you wanted to say. And I like wanted to go and puke in the bathroom because I was like, it just that is not me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't need to hear. Like, if you have an issue with that person, why do we have to do this in a giant circle?
Right.
Just go talk to that person. Why is this public knowledge now?
Right, right.
This isn't my business. I don't need to know about your stuff. Work it out yourselves. And I just did not like that part at all.
Yeah.
I loved the social part. And I have to say, the big sister part, I got a big sister. Her name was Mary Arnston. I don't think that's her last name anymore, probably. But she was from Virginia and she was lovely. And she did take like an extra interest in me. Like she definitely like always like would like want to go to lunch and hang out and talk and catch up in a very genuine way. So I liked that part. And I thought it was really cute how they did it and how you found your big sister and got your paddle and all that. I thought that was all like very sweet and cute. But the rest of it, I just wasn't. I honestly quit sophomore year. I mean, I transferred out of West Virginia University, middle of my sophomore year, and I don't even know if there was KD's at where I transferred to.
You didn't even look into it.
Nope, I was done.
It just wasn't for you.
But I transferred to a commuter school.
Right, right.
And it's so funny how similar we are. I worked all through high school, and when I transferred back to the school, I had a full-time job. I was managing a Banana Republic store. So I went to school, did class, went to work. So I didn't have I had work friends. I didn't necessarily have college friends anymore. So I just didn't have time for that. And I wasn't interested in that at that point.
Right. You didn't need it.
It served its purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
For a while I was at West Virginia University and then I was not interested in that anymore at all. And I didn't keep in touch with anybody.
Wowza.
Nobody.
Not even your big sister? No. Interesting. Well, I worked also.
I did go to her wedding now that I think about it.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I did go to her wedding.
Well, I worked through high school also. I was partially paying for my college. I had a Pell Grant. My dad paid a certain amount and then I paid a certain amount. So it was kind of a three-way co-op of how to go through college. But I was working at a video store, like a Blockbuster type store with two other girls who were going to Rush. I had no idea what that was. I had no idea what they were talking about, but they were like, you have to. We'd spent the whole summer working in this video store together and we'd become really good friends, right? I was like, okay, I don't really know what that means, but okay. And I just kind of fumbled my way through Rush. I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into. And I had the same thing. There were two sororities that were my makeup is perfect. Every boy wants to date me. I'm carved out of cream cheese. There were two sororities that were regular girls that were really fun, who wore makeup sometimes, didn't always, real steady girls. And there were two that were like athletes and like more rough and tumble kind of athletic. Not that we didn't have athletes in our sorority, but they were definitely different. And they were a little socially awkward, some of them. in some of the other sororities. So there were only 6 on my campus. So Katie was one of the ones where I was like, everybody here seems pretty regular and they're fun. They were always a sorority, I thought. I may be wrong. So if my sorority sisters are listening to this, forgive me. This was my impression, was they were the girls that everybody wanted to hang out with. So all the fraternities wanted to hang out with these girls. And that's what I was into. I wasn't into maybe being lavaliered or,
oh my God,
finding
I totally
my man.
forgot about that.
Oh, do you remember that? We'll have to talk about all this. I think it's all fascinating. But we were the ones that were just like, what's the next social? What's the theme? And how hardcore can I go in my costume? Like we were like what I do now, like what I just did in the 80s. I was like, how hardcore can I be 80s gala? And so I was like, I think that's where I want to be. And what a great group of girls. It was a really fun experience. What I was saying to Georgia was we didn't have a house because in Carroll County, if 3 or more women live together, is considered a brothel.
Oh my God.
Still.
Does that still exist?
Yeah. So they couldn't have a brothel, but we could have a dorm floor. So there were 2 dorms that had 3 floors. There were 6 sororities. So each sorority had 1 floor of the dorm.
Oh, that's cute.
So that was their workaround, because you could have a girls' dormitory, but you couldn't have a house.
That still exists.
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious.
That's where I grew up, guys.
Wow.
3. I was like, what if there's 6 sisters in a house? Is that a brothel?
Right.
But I guess there must be something written that they're unrelated. 3 unrelated women in a house together is a brothel.
Wow.
So in order not to be hoes, we lived in a dorm. And the dorm was really fun. My roommate.
And you could still be a hoe.
You could still be a hoe.
Yeah, you got that.
Not in your letters, though. Only without your letters. But I loved the big sister process. I had the cutest, sweetest, most awesome big sister. Her name was Christy Nance. She was a senior, I think, when I was a freshman. She took such great care of me. This is what I was telling Georgia, is that you instantly have resources. I didn't feel like we all had to be best friends, but I felt like if I'm struggling in math, this girl's good in math. I'm going to ask her which professor I should avoid for math class. Like, who can I study with if I need help studying? Where's the party? Somebody knew where the party was on the weekends. It was just a great jumping off place for college, because I didn't know anybody. I mean, I think like 4 people from my graduating class went to college. So I didn't have any network. I, like you, was the first. No, my 2 aunts went to college. They both were a teacher and a nurse. But my dad went to vocational school, and I'm an only child, and my mom didn't go to college. So of my little bitty 3-person family, I was the first person to go to college. None of them knew what Greek system was. None of them knew how college worked. So for me, it was really positive. I really enjoyed all the girls in our group because we were just girls. There was just no pretense, no. And I think that's what's important about sororities, is that you do have to find the right group of women. If you are lured by the flash of a certain sorority because they're the cool girls, but that isn't really who you are, you're not going to be happy there. You're just going to be miserable and end up leaving anyway.
Yeah. And leaving and being on the same campus is not good.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's hard, I think.
Yeah.
And, it's good because sororities have grade requirements. They have,
That's true.
My dorm had curfew requirements. So even though you were not accountable like you were when you were in high school, it gave me some built-in accountability. And by my sophomore year, I was drinking very heavily and behaving very recklessly. And my sorority.
Did you get sent to standards?
I got sent to standards. I did. And honestly, I needed to be. It was really good. I got sent to standards.
What happens there?
And
you've never been sent to standards?
No.
Oh, were you sent to standards? Yeah. For what?
What'd you do, Lynn?
She slapped somebody.
No, I can see why you would say that. No,
legit. Yeah.
It was really stupid. It was like literally I parked because we had a house. So everyone could park in the parking lot and then you just walk across the street to campus. And so I parked and I was running late. And I instead of going through the house, I went down the side, like the driveway, because I was like, shit, I got to get to class. Somebody turned me in for standards because I was being unsisterly conduct. And I was like, are you
What?
fucking
Wait,
kidding me?
what?
That's
You didn't walk through
ridiculous.
the house
I didn't walk through the
and
house.
say hi to people?
Because I was running to class.
Oh, well, that's ridiculous.
Well, that's
So, but like that was
No,
stupid stuff.
that's
But
not-
I did get sent once for being good. So
For being good?
yeah.
I didn't get either.
I didn't know that they sent you for being good. I don't remember that.
Mm.
Well, I don't think our sorority was like that. I don't remember having anything. No offense, KD, if this is an official rule, but that sounds pretty petty. If you're parking in the parking lot and running late to class, really what's important is not
Being late to class.
is being late to class.
Yeah.
So, and that keeps your grades up, which is a requirement to be in the sorority. So
Whoever
that's
turned you
stupid.
in for that had
Well,
yeah.
A vendetta.
But to
Yeah.
honest, well, yeah, maybe, but also I also am very much like I don't need this bullshit. Like
Yeah.
I need to go to school, I need to go to class, and you know. So it was. I don't want to say I was standoffish, but you know, it's just like when I'm sitting there in a meeting and it's like 10:30 at night. I'm like, I have to go home. I still have stuff to study. You know, like so it was. I wasn't the go rah rah. This is great. I was the more like practical because I'm always been very practical. Type of person. So I wasn't like, what Jeannie said, like, I didn't feel like all these people were my immediate best friends.
Yes.
And then it was very, I think the sorority is great for like freshmen, but I think staying in 4 years is very difficult because you're just kind of, you mature and then you're in this house that has these rules. Like, I got sent to standards because I did walk down the side and I didn't have time to do all of these things because I was working and, I was going to go to law school. So I was studying for the exam to get into law school and stuff like that. And they were just giving me, like, they gave me a harder time when I put my priorities first, which was school and work and getting into law school.
Right.
And so I think it's really good for a freshman to you learn, being thrown into that social situation rush is intense and you kind of grow. And I think starting those traditions, like, you did rush. And like, I have this thing with this woman, like I haven't talked to for years, but like she helped me through the rush process and find out she was in the sorority. That was even extra special. And, the big sister thing and just, those fun stories, those fun memories, the going to the parties and something crazy happening or whatever. But it was hard for 4 years. I didn't do it 4 years.
You went, what was it called when you, that's what I did sophomore year, is you become, when you leave, but you're not like quitting it. You're part of it still, but you're like, it's like retiring, but it's not called retiring.
I don't remember.
There's a word for it and I can't remember, but that's what I became.
I became that
because
too.
I still get all the Kappa Delta stuff in the mail. But I do remember like during rush and I may just be like a personality thing because there were people who didn't feel this way, but I just remember like when you went and you got your letter and you found out and all the sororities, like it was in one field and then someone would come get you from your room and you'd all run down there and it was so rah-rah and people were hugging and crying and like, then you go to the house for the celebration and there were people who were like just instantly together. And I was with the girl who was in the room next to me in my dorm because I knew her. But I remember looking around being like, what the hell is happening? Like they just met these people and just being like really overwhelmed by it. A lot of screaming. I mean, so much screaming.
Yeah.
Like that. It was just like a lot. And I was relieved and happy that I got in a sorority because there were a lot of girls crying on my floor that morning, which was terrible.
Yeah.
But being like, I don't know these people.
Yeah.
Like, how are all these other freshmen all of a sudden like besties with these people? I don't know them, but there are people who like, God love them, but like their brain was just so open to like having these immediate sisters and family and feel like that was genuine and true. And I was sitting there like, oh my God, this is crazy town. Like, what can we go to a party? Like, that's why I did this is
right.
so I could go to the Sigma Chi house or the Fiji house. Like, I didn't need to be in that house.
Get your priorities straight, ladies.
I just was like, what's happening? But there are a lot of schools, I think, who you can't rush till either second semester of freshman year or sophomore year. I think there are schools that are changing that. And I think that's such a better idea because you really don't know what house is best for you until you've been there for a while and you've seen these people and kind of see what's going on before you do it. And also maybe make a decision whether you want to or not want to. I feel like it's better to not. I mean, I got to school and a week into school.
It's same. Yeah. It was immediately. It was very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But the parties were fun.
Yeah, they sure
standards. I got called to standards.
Oh, yeah.
I got called to standards and they said to me, we really think that you have a drinking problem and we really think that you should consider getting help. And I was losing my hair from drinking. And I went to the doctor and found out my liver was enlarged from drinking. So they were right. They were right. And they did it in the most lovely, caring, non-judgmental way. Like, we will help you anyway, but you need to get some help. Shortly after that, I transferred schools, partly because I was in denial that I needed any help with anything. And I was like, fuck you guys, I'm leaving. But there was a lot going on in my personal life that had nothing to do with the sorority that was causing me to drink. And when I went to the other school, I went to a commuter school. It's a huge commuter school. Georgia State University has like 35,000 students and it's a commuter school.
Wow.
So of course I go, well, the only way I know how to make friends, because I went to Rush 1 week into college, was to be in a Greek system. So I was in class with a girl who was an 80 Pi. And I said, I am a KD. I can't rush or join any sorority, but I would really love to be invited to things and involved in the philanthropy and just make friends. And so I became an affiliate. I think it's called a social affiliate. So I could be involved in their social events, but I couldn't go to their meetings. I couldn't be called to standards. None of that would happen for them. So I could do their social stuff because I was already Greek. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have anything available to me at that school. And that was very different. I definitely did not feel like I belonged. They did not have a house. They had like a classroom. That was their room. And I was awkward the whole time I was with them. They were lovely. Nobody did anything to make me feel awkward, but I felt awkward. I felt like I just was odd man out. So I did the social stuff, and then I ended up just leaving school and moving to New York. I never even graduated. But yeah, I think now that I look back, I think they were looking out for me. You know, my parents weren't looking out for me. Nobody knew at home that I was really off in a ditch. I really was, in a real bad way. And they cared enough to say, hey, we see that you are struggling. Yeah. And we think that you need to get some help. And how can we help you get help? And
wow.
It was really powerful. So
that's amazing.
So for me, I go, that's what it's supposed to be in a certain way if someone's really off in a ditch, because we had some girls that were going through stuff. And I don't know if they went to standards like that, but I would assume if they did it for me, they did it for everybody.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't, obviously standards was punitive. If you did something really egregious, if you took your top off at a social, then you went to standards, you know, if you had some kind of unsisterly like behavior. But you know, because we had a dorm and not a house, there were only so many girls that could be in the dorm. So we didn't have the pressure you had. If you came on campus and you didn't go to the dorm, nobody really cared. Yeah.
We had a beautiful house.
You did?
They definitely wanted us to, I could have lived there. You weren't required to live there. I could have lived there. And it was really pretty. But they definitely wanted us to feel comfortable just going there and hanging out in the living room and stuff. And it was something else I never did. My dorm wasn't super close to campus. And so I just would when I wasn't in class, just wanted to go back to my room. You know, I wasn't the type who, I wish I did. Maybe I would have liked that school more, but.
Well, I think my school, once you got to a certain age, most people moved off campus and lived in an apartment. Mm-hmm. So people would come and hang out in the dorm because it was closer than in our apartment. So if they had like an hour between classes, we had a lobby. Each floor had a lobby that had couches and like TV. And
were boys allowed on your floor?
At certain hours of the day.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, boys were never allowed in the KDS.
We had a receiving room.
A receiving room?
Oh, maybe there was a receiving room at ours too. I know they weren't allowed in, and I know there were girls who got in trouble for sneaking boys in.
Oh no, boys could go in our room. They just had to be out by a certain hour. And I think you had to leave your door open to your dorm room. I don't remember. That may not be accurate. Maybe that's just was my rule. So everybody knew everything's on the up and up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember having boys in my room, and we had big brothers, and they were all over did you guys have big brothers?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
That's a no.
Well, Katie's had big brothers. We had Katie big brothers, and they got jerseys. They got Katie jerseys that said Big Brother on them.
No.
Our Panhellenic council
would not allow that.
No.
Oh,
I thought it was a national rule too.
Well, we broke it.
Yeah, I'm saying.
My chapter broke it.
I was also Panhellenic.
I was Panhellenic too. I was Panhellenic too.
You know why I did? Because I did not want to do Rush. And so we were
I was the same way.
I didn't want to do Rush.
I didn't want to do Rush either.
So I was like, I'll do whatever. I just don't, because I didn't want to be judging these women. I didn't want to be I just did not want to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what can I do to get out of this? Oh, you need someone to run for Panhellenic? That's me.
I did the same thing.
That's so funny.
I didn't want to be involved in Rush either. That was too much show tunes.
Yeah.
The show tunes.
Oh my God, the singing and the
singing,
songs and the screaming.
Yeah, and it was so much talking. Just talking and talking and talking, and chit chat talking. And I was like, I did the same thing. I was like, I don't want to do that. Can I be Panhellenic? They let me be Panhellenic as a freshman, which they never had before. No one has ever been it as a freshman. And I was like, please, can I please? Because there's parts of it. That's the thing too. I think the thing about me personally within the Greek system is that the stuff you're talking about, all the sisters being all connected, I was like, that's your experience. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm good with having a different one within the context of this crazy one, because some of it is really intense.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily good or bad, but it's really intense to have this family all at one time.
Yeah.
The flip side of it is it's really awesome. You have all these resources. So I think I connected to look at all these resources instead of look at all these people who think they know each other.
Yeah.
They don't know each other.
I think you have to figure out how to make it work for you.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking at all the other houses, I'm like, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be living in a house. Like, I'm not going to be forced to have to live in the house.
Right.
So those sororities are already off the table.
Right.
Done. And then, you just kind of, you figure out like, and I think you can figure it out within that week of Rush or whatever that works for you.
Right.
Who's going to be so strict that it's not going to work for you.
Right.
For what my priorities were.
Right.
And like, I wanted the social structure. I wanted the parties. I wanted, the friends and the resources. And I wanted to know what your house GPA was. Like,
right.
Stuff like that. Because I had an agenda.
Uh-huh.
And I know so many girls didn't. And I think that's why your point of like, maybe having Rush when you're sophomore or something, because you already have figured out college.
Right.
Because a lot of times being in college is the first time you've been away from your parents, first time you ever had some independence and had to figure things out on your own. And I saw so many girls who, went to the parties and they just got fucked up every weekend and Thursday and Wednesday. And,
Yeah, that's me.
And
that was me.
A lot of girls who were on academic probation. Because they didn't know how to pace themselves and they didn't, like I had my agenda, not everyone does, but they kind of just lost what was important, like why they were there at college.
Yeah.
Like ultimately you're there to learn and learning is not just books, it's learning socially and it's learning in the real world. And so I think I like your idea of sophomore year or beyond.
Or even second semester, freshman
because
year.
you're figuring yourself out. I think it's so much to throw at you your freshman year.
I agree.
Or your first
right when you get there.
It's literally right.
Let them get to know kids in their dorm, like make a base of friends and get to know your teachers and get into your schedule. And then you decide, is this something I need and want? And because so many kids do Rush and then they're gone after the first year because they're like, oh no, I don't want that.
Right.
Yeah.
But they think that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And you're right. My school, I felt like, whether this was true or not, I felt like you were either Greek or you had no social life. One of the two. There's no social life if you were not in the Greek system. And I was not going to go to college without a social life. I had to do that. I was super social in high school. So there's no way I was going to be like, and never mind.
Yeah. Right.
I needed that. I needed it maybe too much. My freshman year, I was totally cool. I had like a 4.0, 3.75 grade point average. I was killing it. By the time I got to sophomore year, things were happening in my personal life that had little to do with college that I couldn't handle. So the drinking became coping. That's how I coped. So I think if I hadn't had the personal life stuff, I probably would have just continued on this really good path in the sorority and in that school in general. I left the school. I left everything because of what was going on in my personal life, at home and with me personally. So I wonder sometimes what it would have been like to have just stayed there if I had been able to deal with what was going on. But I don't think I could have. I don't know how it would have worked because some of it was with my dad was going through a really bad divorce and he was having a really bad breakdown. Mm-hmm. He was living with me in the dorm for a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
And was not managing it very well. Oh, and that was part of it. That was only one. Just that by itself would not have been a big deal. But I also got date raped in college.
Right.
And that was happening while this was happening with my dad. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, and let's go drink. Yeah. And let's continue to drink.
I think that and this is a totally different discussion, but I don't think I was ready to go away to college. Mm. And so I didn't have the skill set or the, what is it called? Like the word I'm looking for, my own, like that I couldn't manage my schedule. I wasn't in enough. I didn't have enough self-motivation to do that. So the discipline, I guess that's what I'm looking for. I was not disciplined enough. I'm the youngest of 3. I think that my mom and dad, like with me, were just kind of really checked out and there was very little guidance. It's not on them. I could have done it myself, but like, I just wasn't prepared. So when I got there, I wasn't in a place to even like, it's so smart to go in looking for the resources. I didn't go look for the resources. Like I just was there to like have fun and make new friends. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see myself ever getting it together there. So that's why I left. And I had worked full time I'd worked through high school, at least like 20 hours a week. So I was used to that schedule. Like when I was working and I had work and then I had school, things got done. But all of a sudden I had no job. I was like at this West Virginia is a crazy party school and had access to tons and tons of parties and I had no discipline. So I didn't see myself ever getting it together there, which is why I left. And I transferred to George Mason in Virginia, which is, I don't know if it is anymore, but it was a total commuter school. And I literally would work like 2 to 11 every day and I'd go to class until then and then go to work. And all my friends were gay boys at Banana Republic. Literally.
And cha-ching.
Yeah, that was it.
That's the best.
That was my fun in college. But I didn't see myself ever getting it together. So like to go into it saying, this is going to be my structure and they're going to provide resources, they're going to provide support is a totally different way to go into it than the way I went into it.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't think I consciously did that. I didn't consciously go, look at all these resources I have. I don't think I was mature enough. Looking back on it, I go, oh, that's what I did. What I did was I was like, okay, I'm signing up for classes. Who had this professor? Good or bad? Not taking him. Yeah. Who had this professor? Good or bad? Not taking him. So I did that to figure out the path of least resistance in learning, right? Because some professors just suck.
Yeah.
And sorry, I said that with my letters on. But some just stink. And so you don't want to deal with that. And so I had this. And the same with books. I'd buy used books from my sisters. Well, because they just finished this class. I need this class. Can I buy your book? Yeah. Okay. Now I don't have to go to the bookstore for that book.
Right.
So I think maybe I've always been that kind of person who's been very resourceful and just didn't realize I was resourceful as a person. That part was great. The social part was great. And I actually, I was a cheerleader. So I was a rah-rah. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of my rah-rah because there's a lot of fun that goes with that. Uh-huh. I had a blast in high school and I was always involved in everything in high school. So the Greek system was a good fit for me because I was Panhellenic. So I was involved as Panhellenic. So
explain again what Panhellenic, I don't remember the word, but what did it exactly mean?
It's like a kind of the council for all the sororities.
So like we were the representative for KD in Greek council.
Yeah.
And it was male and female Greek council. It wasn't just, ours was.
No, ours was just, well, yes and no.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it was fraternities and
I remember the word.
Together.
And then they put on, or at least at my school, they put on rush. Like they administered rush. So you would come in as the rushie and, they'd be like, okay, these houses have invited you back. Which ones do you want to go back to?
That's what Panhellenic.
They were supposed to be unbiased. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
You were a neutral representative of the Greek system.
Okay.
So if something happened, like Panhellenic planned the Greek games. We had Greek games every spring and the Panhellenic planned them. So it wasn't just one sorority fraternity.
That. Yeah.
That way everyone's involved. Everything's even. And I don't remember what the fraternity, it's not called Panhellenic from the fraternity.
IFC. But I can't, it's like the International Fraternal Council or something like that.
Oh, that would make sense.
Something like that. You're right. So then anything that was Greek related, non-specific to a sorority or fraternity, the Panhellenic and the IFC did together. So I was more interested in planning the overall stuff than planning the, we're going to have a rock and roll social on Sunday. I didn't care about that. I was going to go, but I didn't care about the minutia of the planning. I wanted to be overseeing everything. And I liked that. I don't know about you, but Panhellenic, as a member of Panhellenic, you had a confidentiality piece. So if someone was in a different sorority, if someone was Delta Gamma and had a problem, they could come to someone on Panhellenic and talk to them confidentially, and you were supposed to keep it confidential. So then if, someone got date raped by someone in a fraternity, they could come and talk to you about it. And it'd be and I liked that part of it because I was in school to be a counselor.
Right.
So I wanted to be a high school guidance counselor. And my first 2 years, I was a psychology major. So I liked that piece of being helpful, of being a safe person that someone could confide in. Because I wanted to be helpful. So I loved that part of it. I loved going to Panhellenic meetings. And I've never liked the minutia. That's why for our elementary school, I sussed out our World Fair and went, that's the job for me. Yeah. Because I can run the build of this fair and I don't have to do any of this other stuff. And it's concentrated and I understand the job.
And they'll leave you alone.
And they leave me alone, right? I don't want to be in the thick of it. I don't want to be in the middle of like all of it like other people did. I was not interested in that. So apparently that's who I've always been. It's like, how can I be in this important role that's not really the heart of it,
It's interesting too because first of all, with sororities we don't get hazed, or we didn't at least.
Oh, I hazed the FUCK and got nationals called on me personally for hazing.
What did you do?
We did not haze.
We did not haze. What did you do? I can't even believe that because I was going to say if I were a guy, I would never join a fraternity.
No way in hell.
Because of what happens, and I do feel like it. These stories that whether there's 2 or 3 a year of some horrible hazing incident where someone dies, and then it's all over the national news, have somewhat destroyed the Greek system in a way. Because if I were a parent today, I am. My son doesn't have a Greek system. At his school, but if I was sending my kid, I would, and it's a boy, I'd be very concerned about having them join a fraternity. Very concerned.
Hazing's very real.
What did you do?
I did something. I didn't think it was that bad, but apparently in hindsight, I was like, maybe since nationals came to investigate, maybe it was not a good choice. My school was about 20 minutes from my grandparents' farm.
Oh, jeez.
So I got some pledges in my car and blindfolded them and took them in the middle of the pasture in pitch black. And I did this with another sister, and we were like, there's only one person you can rely on and blah, 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 blah. And when you took the blindfold off, I had a mirror in front of their face.
Oh, we did something like that.
But not blindfolding and transporting them
that's
20 minutes out of town into a cow pasture. There were cows still in the pasture. Those girls were freaked out and reported us to nationals. So nationals came down and investigated. We didn't get in any trouble. We got a slap on the wrist.
Did you stay friends with those girls?
I don't even remember who they were.
You steered clear of them, I'm sure.
I don't know.
We did something like that, but it was in the house. So they went from room to room, and then that was the last
We did stuff
room.
like that too.
Yeah, it was the last room where we had the mirror, but not cow pastures. We don't have a lot of those in San Jose.
No, those in San Jose. Yeah. But we also did the you will be my servant for the day kind of stuff, which is considered hazing.
Yeah.
We
didn't have any of that. I think they were really paranoid.
Oh, we did.
But there was definitely, I remember I was friends with a bunch of Fijis at West Virginia University. And I remember that going to drop something off for a friend who was at the house, and there were all these pledges who were standing in various spots and they weren't allowed to move.
Yeah.
And they had to go to the bathroom. I was just I remember being this is so sad. Walking around them and being sorry, do you know where Jeff is? And it was painful to watch. And they were drunk. They were in their underwear.
Oh my God.
Not allowed to move. But that's great. That was you hear way worse than that going on.
Well, so our house was on, college was here, street, then our house. And then Beta Theta Pi was next to us. Sigma Chi was next to Beta Theta Pi. And then
that was the fun house at West Virginia
University.
Was Sigma new?
Sigma Chi.
Sigma Chi, Beta Theta Pi, us. And then, oh my gosh, I can't remember that. So there was on one street, there was 3 fraternities, one sorority, my sorority. So we could look from our second floor and we could see into the beta house and we could see the backyard. So we could see what they were doing. And like, we're not stupid. And Sigma Chi was next to us. So we could definitely hear and see a lot that we probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, hazing's real, but we didn't.
And I don't think I don't think it's stopped, and it's just sad. I mean, it shouldn't be that way.
No, it shouldn't. I have 2 views on that. Like everything, I have 2 views on almost everything. Part of it is the seriously mean shit is not cool. Me driving people into the pasture and making them really scared. Now, I know is not cool.
I'm more concerned with the excessive drinking and kids dying.
Well, that's part of it. But I remember like one sister would make these ridiculous signs on poster boards, and a pledge had to carry it all day long. So the sign would be like, I eat pizza in my panties or something, really not harmful, but really ridiculous. And she'd have to carry it all day. And if she was caught without it, she'd get in trouble. Oh my God. So part of that, I think, is really funny and fun and traditional and goofy and ridiculous. And that part is like what you were saying is a memory, is you make a memory of doing something really stupid.
Yeah.
But then when it's just such a fine line of all of a sudden you're in this place where now someone feels humiliated. Yeah. Is someone going to feel humiliated because you have a sign that says, I like to eat pizza in my panties? Maybe one person would, and another person would go, well, obviously I'm being hazed. Like this is what is called pledge. What's Pledge Week? Pledge Week.
Initiation Week is what we called it.
That week they have to do all these things. That's when a lot of hazing happened on our campus, was during Pledge Week. I think it's called Pledge Week at our campus. And because they get initiated at the end of the week. So that's when you really, quote, prove yourself. Yeah, right. Your loyalty. And your big sister would send you on errands, and so would make you do something ridiculous, or you'd have to go and say, these are the things that I remember happening. You have to walk up to the cute guy that's Sigma Nu and say this line to him. Like, I really think your ass is cute. It's like that kind of stuff where you go, that's ridiculous. Now, one person may be really offended to do that. Yeah. But Sydney Grusin would die if you said, you have to walk up to this boy and say, I think your ass is really cute in those jeans. She would die.
And by the way, in today's precious world.
Yeah, right?
I'm sure none of that's happening.
None of that's happening. No. But to me, I go, that's a freaking funny memory. That's funny to do stuff like that. No one got hurt.
Right.
It's ridiculous to carry a sign around. I remember someone carrying a poster around, like a full-size poster. They had to carry it all day and it said something stupid on it. Yeah. To me, that stuff is totally funny and a memory. But the other stuff that's kind of the boys' stuff is a completely different ballgame.
Well, I agree. Because girls,
they get paddled.
They get a lot of stuff. But like we can have alcohol in our house.
You didn't have what?
Alcohol.
Oh.
So it's convenient. We were next to 3 fraternities. So it's really easy. But I think it is definitely different. Like the girls now that you say like, having to go up guys and saying you have a cute ass or whatever, maybe some of that stuff did happen, but I don't think of that as hazing.
Right.
But I think it's really hard because we see it as, totally innocent, fun, stupid. But I think the boys can't come up with something that's man enough or proves themselves enough. And the alcohol, that's what scares
the scary
me.
part.
Like
kids are dying. I mean, it's crazy.
You're 18, 19.
You have no
chances
idea.
are you haven't had really a whole lot of, maybe you went to a few parties in high school, but not the degree of college level.
Right.
And they don't know their boundaries and they don't know what's safe. Right. And I think that's really scary.
They don't understand that the excessive drinking can kill them.
Right. No, I don't.
They're just going to throw up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I think our kids do.
Yeah.
I think our kids understand things that we did not understand. And that
because they have access to so much more than we did. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have, the barrage of news. Like our kids are bombarded every day with news.
Well, ironically, we were talking about this and I think Bert needs to do it again. Years ago, I don't know if you remember, Bert had like a talk with Elijah and some of his friends.
I do remember that.
About he was like, if you're going to drink, do this, but like, do not get high until you're this age. Your brain isn't developed. Like, and he was like hardcore, like literally put the fear of God in these kids. And Elijah never did in high school. I can't say the same for college, but he didn't in high school. But we were, Sasha and her bunch of friends went to a party on Saturday night, and I was talking to some of the other moms of the kids who were going, and we knew there was going to be alcohol at the party. And so we were like, we need to have like, they don't listen to us. We need to have the talk about like, you don't know what you can handle. And it's not a White Claw you're drinking. This is like, if there's hard alcohol, you don't like the tiniest bit is going to affect you because you haven't had this before. And I was like, we need to have Bert talk to them.
You need to have just a little Bert.
We need to have Bert have the car. And it's so funny that it's Bert, someone, but I think that they listen to him.
Yeah.
And it's not us.
It is different, I think, when it's a boy too.
Yeah. And so I was like, we have to have Bert see these girls talk.
He did have a really good talk. I totally forgot about that, but he did have a really good talk with them about, okay, well, we talked, he's not so great with talking to our daughters that way.
I think it's different when it's not your parent.
Probably. And that's such a hard thing too with kids, our kids' age, they're in high school. And we talk about this a lot because you go, I can't say you can drink. I'm not going to say you can. It's illegal.
Yeah.
It is against the law. End of story.
Yeah.
It is illegal for you to drink till you're 21 years old. Sorry. That's where the buck stops. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
I know that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if it happens, here's what you need to know. And here's how you behave. And you call me to pick you up, and you don't get in the car with anybody who's been drinking ever doesn't matter how old you are. Bert, that's one thing. Bert will not drink and drive. He will not.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a really hard time getting in the car with someone who has. He always has this, one of his like line in the sand things. He never does it ever. So I'm like, if you're leading by example, he's done a really good job in that arena where drinking's concerned.
Well, I think our kids see that a lot.
They do.
Yeah.
Bert will not.
Hello, remember Tuber?
Drink and drive. What'd you say?
When Elijah was called Tuber.
Oh my God, yes.
Because our last name's Turbo, so instead of Uber, he became Tuber, and he was driving all of our drunk friends home all the time.
Yes.
Because he was signed a homebody in high school, had his license, and so our friends would have too much to drink, and I'd be like, Tuber, I'll drive you. And all of our friends had to come back and get their cars in the morning. But I thought that was like a great example for our kids too, that I was like, so-and-so drank, they're going to leave their car here. I need you to drive them home.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. It's a hard balance at this age because you can't, I believe you can't just, one of Georgia's friends' mom said, had a party for her daughter for her birthday and basically said, I know alcohol's going to be here. So what's your stance on it? And I told her that. I said, well, I can't condone it. It's illegal. But I know, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not going to say, sure, have fun tonight and drink because I can't. Then I'm saying, sure, rob a bank if you need the money.
Right.
Sure. I mean, obviously I'm not saying that, but it's hard for them, like to your point earlier, not being mature enough. You don't know where they're going to make that line fuzzy about certain rules and laws. I mean, so many friends of Georgia's parents are letting them drive before that 12 months is up, where you have to drive. You can't drive another friend for 12 months. Mm-hmm. So many people are letting their kids break that rule. And I think, well, you're putting a lot of responsibility on that kid to make the decision of when I can break a law. Because that's a law. Like if he got pulled over and had someone in there, he could lose his license for, I don't know how long, but it's against the law. So it's the same with drinking. I can't give a mixed message and say, sure, I know you can drink at home. No, it's illegal. Yeah. That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
And I think because if I don't say, no, the law's the law, then how in their brain do they go, the law's the law, except this part?
Or it's not really. Yeah, it's a law, but it's really.
But is it? But this
kind
is
of a suggestion.
To me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're driving and you hit somebody and have a car accident, it don't matter.
Yeah.
It don't matter who you are, your demographic, it don't matter. I mean, it may matter more for some people than others, your demographic.
Right.
But really, if you break the law, you break the law. So I don't know. That's my point of view. And I think that's Bert's point of view too.
Yeah.
But we're not stupid. We know they're going to do stuff like that.
Right.
I was terrible. I started drinking when I was 14.
Yeah, me too.
So, I mean, eyes wide open.
Yeah.
With saying no. But anyway, I don't know how we got off on that subject. But
all right, so another thing I wanted to ask about fraternities and sororities, and obviously we were all at very different places, although West Virginia felt Southern, or backwards, but I should say that. So my brother went to school at Miami of Ohio, which is not Southern, but he was a Kappa Alpha, which is like they're considered an old Southern fraternity. Yeah. And every year their formal was called Old South. and they wore Confederate uniforms.
Oh my God.
I kid you not. And the girls wore the hoop dresses.
Oh my God.
And there were all these places that you could rent them. And this is Oxford, Ohio. It's by Cincinnati. It is on the border of Kentucky. So more southern Ohio, but Ohio, which is Midwest nonetheless. And that like the amount of pictures of him in the Confederate uniforms in the Old South pictures. And I used to joke all the time, like, you can never run for office.
Yeah, seriously.
This will come back and haunt you.
Right.
That you did this. And at the time, I remember thinking nothing of it.
Yeah.
Nothing of it until that whole thing happened with that girl from The Bachelor, who she went to school, I think, at Alabama, and was in their party wasn't called Old South, but it was something like that. I can't remember exactly. But they were all dressed in the Old Southern. And of course, it's a bunch of white people, which it was at my brother's fraternity.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a certain thing with a lot of fraternities, because I think the origins a lot of times are in the South.
I think most sororities and fraternities are from the South.
Yeah. So there is this like history of like these parties and events, and I'm sure it's changing now, but it's just very interesting to me that, like, did you see that did you have things like that at your school, or?
Nothing directly Civil War antebellum related.
That's what they're called, the antebellum parties.
Yes, antebellum.
Yeah.
Bert's school was far worse than mine. He went to Florida State, and some of we didn't really have anything like that. What's really odd is I grew up in such a small part of the South, but I hope people don't get upset when I say this. I didn't experience racism the way it's described in the South. I didn't experience my family so much being like, no, don't hang out with the black folks. That didn't really happen in my family. We had black friends, but people also kept to themselves in general. So it's not like it was a free flowing, everybody loved everybody. I don't want anybody to think it was like that, but there was no dissension. I don't remember any, no in my family. And so when I went to college, I just didn't have that perspective. So I don't think I saw stuff like, I don't remember our sorority or fraternity ever having anything that was like racially or inappropriate.
Yeah.
But Bert had one like called Jungle Love, where you're like, what? And I mean, they didn't like dress up like black people or anything, but it definitely was themed in an interesting way. And I was like, wow, we didn't have anything like that. We didn't have anything like that I remember. Now watch, somebody will show up with a picture and I'll go, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything. We did not have any kind of, our formals were big hair and shoulder pads. There was no antebellum, none of this Civil War shit.
And I'm sure, I've known my brother graduated high school in 1983. So he was in college in
I was 88.
Yeah, I was 88 too.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure those parties probably don't happen anymore. Although that being said, that girl from The Bachelor is way younger than me by probably 25 years. And there are pictures of her at her school in the antebellum party. So that is clearly still happening there. And I don't know, like, I remember thinking nothing of my brother in a Confederate uniform, and now I'm like somewhat horrified by it. It's not his fault; he didn't know at the time, but it is such a hurtful time that, like, I hope it's not happening anymore.
Well, it's a huge shift in mentality as a society, right? Because back in the day, I don't know about your schools. I guess this is one way you could say my school had racism. There were African-American fraternities on campus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were white fraternities on campus, and the two didn't really mix.
Right.
And it's not that they didn't have socials together. I don't remember them ever having socials together, but no African-Americans rushed the white fraternities and no white boys rushed the African-American.
My sorority was definitely all white.
Mine was all white. So I'm sure that was by design.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it was necessarily racially motivated, because I guess it was exclusive, but I guess they thought because there were predominantly African-American sororities and fraternities that were very active on our campus. They were huge, just as huge as the white Greek system. I don't think at that time anybody went, oh, no, you can't come over here. I think at that time, that's
just the way it was.
You gravitated toward your group of people.
Yeah.
And that sounds really racist. And I don't mean it racist.
It's so, interesting because now I'm like all of a sudden thinking about this. So West Virginia University is pretty white, and the Greek system was all white.
Yeah,
for sure. And I grew up in Ohio, in Cleveland, and my public school system was literally 50-50, black and white. And so that's the way I grew up. And I'm wondering if like one of the reasons I didn't like it is because of how white it was.
That's maybe. Mine, I was lucky. Like I will say like my sorority personally had, it was a little more heavy white, but we did have people of all like nationalities. Not saying that's true at the other sororities. Like there were sororities that mainly were all white. I don't think that was on purpose. We did have black sororities and fraternities that were solely like, but my pledge sister, she was black. She was great. And but I will say, I think she was the only black girl in our sorority.
Right.
But trailblazer.
But there are also, there's other, Hispanics in our sorority, some Hawaiians. There was different nationalities, but I will say mostly the other ones were white. But now I'm thinking about the fraternities, and there was diversity in the fraternities as well.
Well, I grew up in a part of the world where there wasn't a lot of diversity. Exactly. I mean, I went to school, 20% of the population of my school was black and 80% was white, and there was no other ethnicity. There was no
that's
Latino.
Cleveland too. I'd say you were black or white. I don't think it's like that anymore.
It's not anymore.
Yeah,
no, completely not anymore.
Yeah.
But even when I went to school in Atlanta, there was Pilar Morales was the only Latino person I remember in our whole grade. And there were like 800 people in our school. And then we had one young man who was Asian, and everyone else was either black or white. There was no one else. So it's not like, that's to my point. At being exclusive wasn't about exclusivity so much as it was about, that's what the demographic was. So it's not like you didn't leave out the Latino population. I didn't have a Latino population in Georgia. They do now, but in the 80s, there were almost no Latinos in Georgia. I mean, the closest Latino or Latin-speaking country would have been Cuba, and they all went to Florida. Everybody who migrated from Cuba stayed in Florida because there's so many Cubans in Florida already. Same with Puerto Rico. They would stay in Florida, or they'd go to New York because there's so many Puerto Ricans there already. Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of diversity available. I mean, I don't remember at my college, I didn't walk around with a clipboard and going, and there's an Asian person, and I didn't look at it that way. I didn't see color that way, the way that I think we see color today.
I think it's interesting that the three of us were raised in literally, it's like a dotted triangle.
It is, yeah.
Of how we were raised in the United States.
Yeah.
And we are friends today. Yeah. And all three of us are Kappa Deltas.
That is crazy.
That's weird.
It's kind of crazy.
But
we're sisters for life.
But it also, I guess, kind of, maybe there is some truth to like, this sorority attracts this type of girl.
Yeah.
Totally. This sorority attracts this type of woman. And maybe I didn't notice that going through the process, but maybe there is some truth to that. Because, I mean, like, I had no idea, but we've been friends since a long time because we're like,
similar people.
The things we were doing at school sucked, and we were like, why are you doing this way? It's so inefficient. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
We're the only child. Your dad and my dad are exactly the same. Your, stepmom, for a lack of a better word. My stepmom are exactly the same.
Yep,
they even look like each other.
They do. It's bizarre.
But like, I think that they do attract a certain type of people. So I would say to maybe Georgia, next year is just take a look and see, like, because you don't have to join.
No, you can go all through Rush and go past,
or you could just not even go. They have open Rush too.
Yeah,
so you don't even have to do
that. Oh yeah, right. Sophomore year, because people will flunk out.
Yes, people will flunk out, and people will just move on.
That's something you can always count on. Yeah,
people will move home.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is, and I just thought of this, is there's always the Jewish fraternity.
Oh, I didn't know there was a Jewish fraternity.
At Miami of Ohio, I remember this because I had a lot of friends from Cleveland who went to Miami of Ohio. Fiji at Miami of Ohio was the Jewish fraternity. It was not the Jewish fraternity at West Virginia University, but it was at Miami. And I do think that like my husband went to Northwestern. I cannot remember which fraternity he was in, but he was in a fraternity and it was the Jewish fraternity.
Interesting.
But yet his friend Keith, who's not Jewish, was in that same fraternity because all of his friends were in that fraternity. So you didn't have to be Jewish. It just tended to be most of the Jewish kids boys went there and went to that fraternity. And it was never found this with the girls. There was never a Jewish girls sorority. But with fraternities, I have heard at a lot of schools, like that was the predominantly Jewish fraternity.
Interesting.
And all the, and it can change from school to school. But I thought that was interesting too. But again, it goes back to maybe like a little bit of the like-mindedness and different things. It wasn't required that you be that religion, but like all the Jews were in that fraternity.
That's so fascinating. That goes to the point, right? That you gravitate toward people that you recognize, so to speak.
And he didn't do that till he was a junior.
Interesting.
He did not join the fraternity till he was a junior. He was never, but all of his friends were in that fraternity. And junior year, they were like, just pledge and you'll get in, because we're all friends. And he did. So he didn't join the fraternity till he was a junior.
How funny.
Yeah.
Well, I know, I am sure someone has some opinions about how patriarchal or white privilege or all these establishment or whatever the negative take is on sororities and fraternities. I'm sure, and a lot of it's accurate.
Yeah.
I don't have that knowledge and I didn't have that experience. And our experience in the 80s, like your brother in the antebellum in the Civil War, we all learn and grow. And maybe today, what I experienced as a sorority sister doesn't apply as much. But I don't know. It was a really good experience for me overall. I enjoyed my time there. I'm not in touch directly with a lot of my sorority sisters, but I am Facebook friends with a lot. So I keep up with, one of my roommates, Rhonda, ran track for our college, and both her daughters are running track in college. And I'm like, how cool is that?
That is cool.
Yeah. And I learned how to stretch shin splints out from Rhonda. It's just one of the things I go, Rhonda taught me how to stretch a shin splint. It's one of the most valuable things I've ever learned. So thank you, Rhonda. I don't know. For me, the positive outweighed the negative. And I would think nowadays there's so much racial sensitivity in life that hopefully that if someone takes issue with an all-white sorority fraternity that happened in the 80s, which was pretty status quo, would know that I know and we know that today it wouldn't be that way. I don't think
although it clearly was just a few years ago with that.
It was?
Well, yeah. Because,
see, I'm so ignorant.
All right. So not that I'm like a Bachelor Nation person, but
no, not at all.
I do occasionally watch. I can't watch the whole beginning part of it. Like I can't deal with that. But like once they get down to like 3 or 4 people, I'm like, all right, I'm in now.
Got it.
I got rid of the riffraff crazy
But
stuff.
don't you think like, honestly, like Bachelor is very much like Rush Week?
Well, totally. Absolutely. All the girls, 100%.
Yes.
Oh my God, you're so right. I never thought about that. So yes, 100%. And only one of them gets in the sorority. But
or fraternity, just saying.
Right. But so this girl, I think Rachel Kirkland or something like that is her name. With her, the Bachelor was African American and she's white, Southern girl, and he chose her. And they were a super cute couple. But after he chose her, it came to light, like someone, of course, exposed all these pictures of her in her sorority. I don't remember. I mean, I want to say Alabama. It might be Alabama or Ole Miss or something, but it's a Southern school. And she is dressed and with, like 30 people at this antebellum all posing in their outfits and the whole thing.
And the hoop dress.
Absolutely. So all of that. And he had never obviously seen that. And he broke up with her over it and just said, like, I can't, that's not who I am. That's not what I'm about. They're now back together. And I guess, part of it is that she was ignorant to it. And like a lot of people are about how hurtful that was. Mm-hmm. And she just, now is speaking out against it and trying to like create change. So that's like what brought them back together. And so now I'm sure probably all that stuff is going away because that was like all over, sadly, the national news. When there's way more important things, but that was our news. Right. But that's the United States for you.
That's the U.S., baby.
But maybe it's good because maybe it brought to light that this is still happening And she's probably in her mid-20s.
Yeah.
So this just happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, white privilege is very real.
Oh, yeah.
We have enjoyed white privilege our whole life. And what's really difficult, I think, about, this sounds so shitty. I don't mean this to sound shitty. But what's difficult about white privilege is that I think most white people are not consciously acting privileged. They're not aware of their privilege. You're not brought up being taught because you're white, you're ahead.
Yeah.
That's not, I wasn't taught that.
But it's clear that that's what's happening.
But it is the truth. And so you have to come to that realization or be taught that realization. And I think that it's to be compassionate. This sounds really shitty, but I mean it in a good way. To be compassionate about a white person learning that they're privileged as someone who is a person of color, to be patient and go, just as you were brought up with this way of life, we were brought up with a way of life too. And we have to be given the opportunity to learn from it. So when the antebellum thing is exposed, I don't think anybody in their front brain went, watch this. Yeah. I'm going to dress in a fancy dress and act like I own slaves. Yeah. I don't think they were just celebrating a part of the South just they thought was worth celebrating.
A tradition that had been going on forever and ever and ever again. As I said, my brother in 1983 has that exact same picture.
And he was not a racist.
No.
He was not someone who did that as a racially motivated
he grew up in Cleveland like me. I mean,
it wasn't a racially motivated act. But as a white person, this is what you've grown up with your whole life. You have to be given the opportunity to go, oh, hold on. That's bad.
Well, and
then make a change.
The Kyle Rittenhouse getting acquitted on all counts is number one.
I can't
fact.
Even.
So that
was so very upsetting.
So upsetting. And so, if he was black, he would be dead. Number one, he would have been shot and killed instead of arrested. Mm-hmm. And if he was not shot and killed, he would be in jail. Yeah. And it's so upsetting. But someone on the news said, I realized after that, I've always wanted to win the lottery. And I realized I did win the lottery. I was born a white male.
Well, right. Yeah. Well, as a lawyer, let me ask you this. Okay.
It's crazy.
So when that Rittenhouse came on, I try in life, and I try really hard in life to look at both sides, right? To see what my initial reaction is, and then to pause and go, okay, what's the other side? To understand people or to understand a process, not to lessen my own belief, but to have a fuller understanding. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if someone walks up to me and goes, you're a piece of shit asshole, I'll go, well, that was offensive. And then, hey, why did they say that? You see what I mean? That's two sides. Yeah. And then the answer to why they said that may be they're on drugs and that has nothing to do with me. And the answer to why they said that may be I actually did something that caused that. Mm-hmm. But you don't ever learn if you don't ask the question.
Totally.
So when this came down for Rittenhouse, I was like, well, what happened in the courtroom? Was there not enough evidence? Was it that the jury was the bad jury? What happened? Because if we have faith at all, any faith at all in our legal system, what happened that led them to that verdict? And I don't agree with the verdict, but I wasn't there. I didn't listen. What happened? What do you think happened?
So I will preface this by I did not follow it very closely. Mm-hmm. But from what I saw, mm-hmm. I would say, and again, like I said, I didn't follow very closely, but I do believe that the judge set the tone for it. Mm. And me personally, mm-hmm. this is me personally, I think he had an agenda.
The judge?
Yeah. Yes, he let in certain things. He excluded certain things. He
was very biased.
Admonished the prosecution. Granted, the prosecution did do some things that probably weren't on the up and up. I think the prosecution also thought that they had a pretty good case. And I think they had some false confidence. And the judge kind of kicked their ass. Mm. But I think the judge kind of
had an agenda.
I don't know if I'm not gonna say he had an agenda, but he definitely ruled in such a way that it can definitely look like he had an agenda, and he had a specific idea of what the outcome he wanted.
SNL did a skit on it this weekend, and they actually had the judge accidentally kept referring to Kyle Rittenhouse as his client.
Oh my God.
Because I think that's the way.
So then the conclusion is our justice system is broken. If you look at it that way.
You have to believe that, that a trial by jury is the fairest outcome, but not when it's ruled by an unfair judge.
A judge that has a lot of conscious bias, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, that's just from the little that I did see, that's my personal belief. I think that the judge had an idea of how he wanted it to end up, and he made certain rulings that tend to lead it. And I also think, I was on a jury once. It wasn't a big case at all, but I will say, like, it's eye-opening being on a jury.
It is.
And what the jurors pick up as being important, and unfortunately, like, the law is the law. And if it's not explained well to the jury, honestly, the jury just kind of, in the case I was at, I felt like they just kind of listened to it, and they kind of just made, they voted a certain way. Not necessarily the legal
Were
standard.
You the foreperson?
I was not the foreperson because I didn't want this other guy was actually, and he was an attorney. And
were you guilty or not guilty?
I think he was guilty. Well, actually, I did not think he was guilty. I think he probably did it, but the prosecution didn't.
So you found him not guilty.
Yeah.
All right. So I was on two juries.
Because the prosecution didn't prove. They have elements that they have to prove.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Yeah. May have happened in the Rittenhouse is that it proved. But you're saying that's probably not what the problem was in that particular case.
I don't think in that particular case. I think jurors just listen to it, and then they just use an educated guess where, like, as lawyers, we're like, the prosecution has to prove these things. And if they didn't, the guy could have done it, but the prosecution didn't.
But if you've left open a place where he maybe didn't, then both mine were not guilty. Both times he probably totally did it. And both times I went into, and I wasn't the foreperson, but went into that jury room with, like, that first vote being most of the people saying guilty and a few of us saying not guilty, and was able to convince them that he was not guilty, even though he was probably totally guilty in both cases. But they didn't do their job. And there were too many holes.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
If they left holes, they left holes that he could have not done it. And as long as there was that question that he could have not done it, and there was then he was not guilty.
Right.
Yeah.
And mine, people hadn't killed people. So it wasn't like I was letting a murderer out in the street.
Right.
He just may steal more.
Yeah. I had a similar experience too. I was on a jury once, and the guy was selling stolen guns and drugs in Pasadena. And they had, like, the FBI. It was a big investigation.
It's a long trial, I feel like.
Yeah. It was long. I was there a long time. Yeah. And the deliberation or whatever happens, whatever you call it when you're in the jury.
Yeah, deliberation.
Stunk. And I lost so much faith in the system that I got in my car when it was over and cried all the way home.
Aww.
Yeah.
I felt so hopeless because they had my brain keeps going, a spy.
Informant?
It's not a spy. Yes, an informant. I was like, there's a spy. It's a spy.
That's a totally different case.
They had an informant, and they had someone that wore a wire. And they had him recorded selling this selling the stolen gun. It was all, like, there. And we got in the jury room, and I had two older men who were definitely from a different country. They sounded like Russian, but I don't know that they were Russian, but they sounded like some Uzbekistan, somewhere in that part of the world. And one guy said, all police are bad. He's innocent.
Oh, wow.
And I went, hold on. We just listened to him on tape sell a stolen gun to this informant. We've listened to all this. We had all this evidence. I was like, he's guilty. 2.5 days. And the other person who was from another country who had the same kind of accent joined him on the first day. Cops are bad. He goes home. We never turned those two people. It was not explained to me.
So do you become a hung jury?
That was not an option. The judge came into the room and went, you will have a decision on this today. Because we deliberated for 3 days straight, all day long. and could never turn those two people. But he never said, the judge never said, he said, I will have a decision on this today. But I didn't know. I think I called you afterwards and you said, well, you could have just said no.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought we had to either be guilty or not guilty. So this one girl was crying in the deliberation room and she was like, I am a waitress and I am not getting money for being here. I've been here for like 2 weeks now and this is going on and on and on. I've got to pay my bills. I've got to get back to work. I cannot be here anymore. Bawling. And so all of us started turning, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, because those two men were immovable without logic.
So frustrating.
And I was like, well, I can stand with my ethics, which is I believe that he is guilty. And I will be the person that causes us to be here for 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that either. I was having people pick up my kids and drop off my kids. And it was so chaotic because Bert was out of town that we all just slowly turned. And as soon as we went to not guilty, I got in my car and bawled all the way home.
Yeah,
because it was awful.
Yeah.
It's a broken system.
So if the judge had said, you have 3 options, guilty, not guilty, hung jury, I would have gone hung jury.
Yeah, you guys deliberated for 3 days. Like that's
and those 2 men were immovable.
Yeah.
Well, and the message that goes out now because of him going free, again, reinforces everything that we're trying to remove right now. And so it just sets us back so far.
Yeah, it does.
It's just frustrating.
It made me so upset.
All right, so I have another question about sororities.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're keeping us on.
So
track.
you had this woman who you worked with who, I mean, like, I think that was like really big of her to like not tell you what sorority she was in and let you go through the process yourself unbiased. And I don't experience this because I left and didn't stay active. I know that like a lot of colleges have a really strong alumni system where they try to help their alumni with jobs and stuff. Do sororities and fraternities do that today? Like, does their alumni system, like, do you get contacted from people who are graduating saying this person is trying to become a lawyer and like trying? Yeah. I mean, I would think that it should be a great resource for sisters and brothers to take care of their sisters and brothers. And even though they don't know them, younger ones graduating and say, hey, this brother now, like, what's the alumni network? This brother is a partner at this law firm and can help you. Or this sister works at this corporation and this person's trying to get into that. So like, let's help out, a former sister or whatever. I don't know. Like, I feel like that should be a thing.
It should be. Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Well, so I left my junior year. I was like, I've been president. I don't think me going back to a regular like sister is really good because then like
I'm above that.
No. I said, because then it's like the old president and the new president, and I don't want the new president to think like I'm judging everything she's doing. She's doing things wrong or whatever. I just think it's better if I just move on. And I got granted alumni status early. So So because I was like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. I mean, and so maybe it would be different, but I've never been contacted.
I know.
There's never been an alumni. The only thing I get contacted is for money, which
I get the little magazine.
I don't get anything.
I get that magazine, but I would think they should be reaching out to everybody and creating a directory of like, this sister does this and might be able to help it, because it should be, you go through this for 4 years, you pay all this money to be in the sorority. There should be like this amazing network of resources.
It's a good point.
People who can help you.
Maybe there is one. We just don't know about it. Maybe
because I know colleges.
Maybe they went, those 3 women, don't put them in the directory.
Like, she's obviously not part of it. She walks on the side of the house instead of going into the house.
Right. She's like, and I've got the highest role really and mic drop. I'm out. Alumni status early. Right?
I know college because my friend who works in HR at NBC tells me that like there's certain colleges that are really intense about their alumni.
Yeah.
And so say someone from this college works at NBC, they're constantly submitting graduates and saying, I want this person to be interviewed. I want this person like pushing their people, which is awesome.
Yep.
I feel like fraternities and sororities should be doing the same thing.
Yeah. But then but I think the problem is that when you're in a fraternity and sorority, you're 19 to 20, whatever. And they're not thinking like that. Like our school, our president goes all over the country establishing alumni connections. Yeah. And we're high school.
Yes. At the high school. Yes, he does. Yeah.
But that's his job. Where in the sorority, yes, there is a national organization, but like my chapter house had a house mom who like basically just lived there rent free and was like quiet hours, like Nothing specific. Like,
right.
It wasn't really, she wasn't involved in like the administration. And then we have our alumni board that heads up standards and all that fun stuff. They were just women who like couldn't leave the sorority behind. They just had to still be in the sorority and some, again, I was not one of those raw people, but they never did. Those would be the people who would establish like the connections or whatever, but they were too busy living out their glory years of like, I used to be the president or whatever. Like, I think it's different because it's localized with people who really just don't have the capability of doing
and maybe
that.
they're just expecting the colleges to do it.
Maybe if you mean you're going through the alumni association of your college as opposed to your sorority. Yeah. I think that's actually a really good idea. I mean, I feel like within the people that I'm still on Facebook friends with, if I needed something that I thought one of them could help me figure out, I would reach out to them without hesitation because it was such a group of very genuine, good, nice people. I still would approach anybody that I was in the sorority with for anything. And I would hope they would feel the same way about me. Mm-hmm. But I guess, it is more localized, more chapter based. I wouldn't reach out to nationals and ask for anything. They go, weren't you the girl that blindfolded people and took them in a pasture? No.
I thought you were going to tell us you took them cow tipping or something.
Oh, I wanted to, and they wouldn't let me cow tip.
Oh.
So we had to do the mirror ceremony. I was like, oh, fine. I just like the blindfolded part. They have no idea where they're going. That was the part I was really into. Let's blindfold them, put them in the back of my cabriolet.
You had a cabriolet?
I had a cabriolet.
So jealous. What color was it? I always wanted the blue one with the white top.
It was white with a white interior.
Oh my God, I wanted blue with white top so bad.
I wanted the Can't Buy Me Love one. Remember from Can't Buy Me Love? That's what I got. Can't Buy Me Love, cabriolet.
Oh my God.
Well, I had a Porsche. It was my first car. It was a 1979 924. No one get excited. It was just a 4-cylinder. It was not a big deal Porsche, but it was a Porsche. My dad bought that on purpose because everybody in the town of Bowden knew where I was. There was one Porsche in that whole town. He was not dumb. And then I was like, I'm kind of bored of this car. I need like a faster car. Because my daddy didn't know this, but I got into kind of a little bit of like drag racing. So he bought me this Conquest, which was a Dodge Turbo, and it would fly. It was so fast. And I met him in the road going 100 miles an hour. And he took the car and gave me a Volkswagen Cabriolet. Because that car could not go 100 miles an hour unless it were towed by another car going 100 miles an hour. So he was like, this is over.
Yep.
And let's get you a car.
Yeah, that was like my dream car.
Appropriate car. So that car was really cute. And I think I could run faster.
I had a Pontiac Le Mans station wagon.
Oh my God. It was way better than a Pontiac Le Mans station wagon.
Totally.
That was the good thing
about with red interior.
What?
White with red interior.
Oh my God. Bless your heart. Well, my dad he had a shop that fixed wrecked cars. So all my cars had been wrecked and then he put them back together. So it wasn't as glamorous as it sounds. It was just a car that was totaled that he bought and like put it all back together and then gave it to me. So, but yeah, I had the cute cabriolet with the big lace bow in my hair.
Oh my gosh.
The Can't Buy Me Love car.
Yeah, I could watch that movie 1,000 times.
I know, it's a great movie. So, fond memories of sororities. I loved the socials. Did you guys like going to socials?
Loved socials.
Yep. I love the formals. How did your formals work?
I didn't love formals.
Oh, why not?
I don't know. I didn't live close to school, so like getting a dress and stuff was just challenging. There wasn't really anywhere to shop for me there, like, I don't know. I just like, it was very stressful to me. Oh. I went to Fiji formal a few times just because that's where most of my guy friends were. Mm-hmm. But it was, I found it like a little bit stressful.
Oh, I loved it. Our formals were always destination formals.
Oh, fun. Oh.
So like we had one in Tybee Island, which is off the coast of Georgia.
We didn't have any of that.
Oh, so fun.
No, we were not allowed to do that. We had to do it right in San Jose.
Morgantown. Yeah, no, we didn't leave Morgantown.
We didn't. We went to Tybee Island once and then we went to Atlanta one time, I think.
Oh, that's so fun.
And like rented a
I probably would have like been more into it. Yeah.
It was super fun.
If we were leaving Morgantown. Yeah.
It was really, really fun because then you were like at a destination. Tybee Island was a blast. And then I loved the Greek games. Did you guys love the Greek games? I was hardcore into that.
I liked the tailgating for our football games. Obviously, it's West Virginia University Mountaineers. They were huge. Tailgates were super fun. Yeah. And I loved the tailgating. I never went into a game.
I never went into the game.
I heard it from the parking lot. We never went into a game. We just tailgated the whole game. It was so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we could hear what was going on, obviously. But yeah.
You got what you needed.
It was so fun. I loved the tailgates. And I liked the socials a lot.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
So we did tailgate. Our football team was not very good. But it was something to do, whatever. Yeah. The formals were okay. I just always I didn't know who to ask. And it was just always oh, you're going to go with these friends. Well, this friend's inviting a DU, so you should invite a DU. And it was more like you invited a date to have a date, but then you kind of ditched them.
Yeah. I did the same.
Yeah. And so I think for me, it was more like hanging out than any organized activity. Mm-hmm. The socials were fine. But again, it was okay, now we have to do something with it. It was a lot. It was just a lot. And I didn't have all that time because I was working full time.
Sure.
On top of school, 40 hours a week, on top of school, on top of studying. So I think hanging out, and I like the philanthropies.
Mm-hmm, I do too.
We did a Shamrock. So we used to do this Shamrock. I forgot what it was called, but it was bikes. And so you would just do a bike-a-thon, stationary bike. Then when I was president, we got rid of that. And we did a Shamrock showcase, and where we had we invited fraternities and sororities to come. So it was a talent show.
Oh, fun.
And that was more fun because then it was everybody versus, okay, this is DU's time to sign up. This is Sigma Chi's time to sign up for the bikes. And then people would be upset because they got 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And it's just someone had to get 10 o'clock at night. Right. And unfortunately so then people wouldn't come, and it would just be a sad state of affairs. So that was the fun part. But for me, it was more hanging out and just doing stupid things. We're going to go get, dinner at 11:30 at night because we're done studying or whatever, that kind of stuff, and not so much the organized stuff. I'm not much for organization in terms of
all of that.
I
liked all of that. I lived in the dorm for 1 year, and I loved living on the sorority dorm. It was super fun. There was always somebody to do something goofy like that with. Yeah, always somebody to have pizza late at night or watch a show. Or I remember watching the first episode of The Simpsons. It was on a Sunday night, and we wrapped up our meeting early and all ran to one girl's room to watch the first episode of The Simpsons. So stuff like that was really cool to me too. I loved all of that. I loved the Greek games. I loved the socials. I loved the formals. I liked the Sunday meetings, but our meetings weren't I don't remember them.
The teddy bear.
I don't remember doing that. Now, it doesn't mean they didn't. If they did it, I probably just went, yeah, I'm just going to zone out for this part. I don't remember them passing the teddy bear. I was always conflicted when someone would get lavaliered. So
all right, so wait, explain that again, because I remember the term, but I'm forgetting what it actually meant.
So
it's being pinned?
Yes. Okay. So if a lavalier though was a necklace, right? Wasn't that?
I don't know. We did pins.
There's pins
but there's different things. Pin meant one thing.
Yes.
Something else meant another thing.
That's right.
And that honestly, I hated it.
You did?
Well, you know why? Because I would go to a fraternity formal and be at the date. And honestly, how they did it is they would pass something around. And so if you decide you're going to pin your girlfriend or whatever it was, then they drink. And honestly, I was please just fucking pass it. Please fucking pass it. Because okay, so what happens? So this guy drinks because he wants you to be his girlfriend or whatever. And then you're no, what the fuck do I do?
No, it was public.
It was public.
Oh, that's
because they wanted to drink.
No, that's not how it happened.
And that's how a lot of it happens.
It was almost
I don't think that happened at my
It was
school
almost pre-getting engaged.
Oh.
It was private.
That's a different.
It was, and the girl, we'd have an emergency ceremony or something in the lobby with candles and singing, and then somebody would be I got lavalier. Yeah. And you're oh my God. So it was almost you were almost engaged. It was getting someone's Letterman jacket. Yeah. It was a big deal.
I can't even imagine that happens now because nobody gets married. Well, people do. I should in different parts of the country, but it's rare now that people get married right out of college, but I guess maybe it's not as rare as I think it is.
Well, I was in the late 80s. Yeah. So we are talking about 30 years ago.
I know, but I wonder, I'll bet you there's still places so that's very common.
I'm sure there are, especially in the South.
Yeah.
That didn't happen as often, but that did happen.
That happened. It was always very exciting because you knew when there was like a emergency meeting, somebody got pinned or lavalier. Somebody did.
I remember, this is really funny, just something in the house. There was a bunch of girls who had boyfriends who lived in the Kappa Delta house, and they had built this dog house like on the wall. Like it was like a paper dog house, and they all had boyfriends. So their boyfriends would be little dogs, and they had their name on them. Like one girl's boyfriend was Joe. So Joe is outside the house. You know, all the dogs are on the wall outside the house. But then if your boyfriend was in the doghouse, because it's something they'd done, the dog got moved into the doghouse. So like we used to always like come by the house and be like, oh my God, Joe's in the doghouse. What did he do?
Spill the tea.
So it's that kind of stuff like that I look back on and I'm like, I totally makes me like sick. But at the time it was like cute and funny and like, oh my God, so-and-so's in the doghouse and all their boyfriends were on the wall and like just funny stuff like that.
Yeah,
Sorority
it was a little
stuff.
It was a little like
I think I'm just too cynical.
You were too cynical?
Right? In general, I think I'm too cynical. Like I think I always have been too.
Really?
So
I don't see you as a cynic.
What do you think I am?
You're not cynical. You were like one of the most positive people I know.
Oh.
But I think like about the sorority,
I also am. Well, I guess I'm cynical in that I sense disingenuous fakeness.
That's different.
Yeah, that's different.
And so that part I think I'm cynical about.
I don't know if that's cynicism more than that just doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Like you are not someone who's fake and you don't.
And I feel like I sense it immediately.
Yeah.
So,
so then you're like, nope. Are you like,
I don't have time for that.
Nope. Moving on.
Do the driveway.
I don't know.
Driveway.
That's going to be my new thing is when I don't want to talk to someone, I'm going to be like, driveway.
What? I don't get it.
Because I didn't want to talk to anyone. I got
so she took the driveway.
That's funny. Yeah. Just hit the driveway.
Driveway.
That's funny. Well, I don't know. I wonder what it's like today to be in a sorority.
I know. I'm very curious. I kind of want Georgia to do it so she can tell us.
I don't know. I don't think Georgia would join.
They don't have them at Elijah's college. No. And actually that's
a good thing though.
One of the things he really liked about the college is but he's on a team. So, and he went to a all-boy high school that feels somewhat like a brotherhood. So he just felt like he didn't want that or need that in college because he had his brothers and he was a part of a team and that was all he wanted. So he specifically was only looking at schools that did not have a Greek system.
Really?
He didn't want a Greek system
Interesting.
at all. Because he didn't want to feel like if he wanted to be social, he knew he wasn't going to join a fraternity and he didn't want to feel like if he wanted to be social, you had to be a part of that.
Right.
So he was really just looking at smaller schools that didn't have that.
No Greek system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's definitely benefits to it, but it's definitely not essential for you to join.
Yeah. I am curious what it is like now.
I'm curious. I'll tell you this. We went to see Boulder with Georgia and we were on campus. First of all, Boulder's beautiful. Beautiful town, beautiful campus.
Yeah.
Clearly they have a lot of fun there. We were there on a Friday. Someone had built a temporary, this was in early September, snow ski jump. And guys were jumping like it's like green as can be. Aww. And then someone had blown one ski slope.
Don't you kind of miss that
ski slope? Yep.
So fun.
So cool. And then adjacent to them, there was a 4-piece quartet playing orchestral music on a stoop. And people were just on the lawn watching them.
That's so fun.
Everywhere on campus, girls were in bikinis.
It was warm up.
Bikinis. And I'm like, what is everybody doing in a bikini?
That's happening though. What? Aren't you kind of shocked? Like when, and I hate to be that parent, but this party that the girls all went to on Saturday night, one of them, she said, I borrowed Sasha's shirt. And I was like, it's a bra. It's like one of those free people bras.
Oh, yeah.
For sure not a shirt.
Yeah, no.
But that's what she wore. I mean, she looked super cute in it, but I was like, that's for sure not a shirt. But it was a blackout party where you had to wear all black, and it was a black bra. So,
oh my God. Oh, Isla and I just read this.
But that's what they wear now. They just wear bras and bikini tops.
But at Boulder, girls are everywhere in their bikini walking, and we're like, what's happening? Like, something's got to be going on. There's no way girls just walk around in a bikini all the time. So we start looking for the Greek part of town.
Yeah.
Sure enough, one of the fraternities were having a pool party in the middle of the day on a Friday.
I love
and girls were coming everywhere in their bikinis. And I was like, okay, so some things don't change.
Well, and honestly, when we talk about it, these fraternities and sororities, some of them have been around for like 100 years.
Yeah, forever.
They have stood the test of the time. They're still there. They have the infrastructure built into them to keep it going.
Yeah.
And so they're doing something right. People want to keep doing it.
I would like to believe, I'm sure, because again, back to my ignorance, I'm sure this started in some bad way to be exclusive or exclusionary or to only be for Protestant white men or whatever. I have no idea the origin of the Greek system. I have no clue. I'm sure it started from some egregious thought process.
Probably.
But I would like to think that we can say also that, you know, the United States was kind of built on the back of a lot of criminals also. There were a lot of people who did a lot of really aggressive things to get our country started. So maybe it started in not a great place. Maybe it turned out to be pretty positive for a lot of people. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think it's also different though, because I think looking back, I came from a big school, like a big high school to a big, you know, college. So I needed that kind of small community.
Mm-hmm.
And like my kids, like Carter goes to a smaller school and I don't think he needs that because he has a sport, just like your girls go to a smaller school and your daughter goes to a little bit bigger of a smaller school, but still a smaller school, still a community. Like they still have that sense of community, and hopefully Sydney will go to a small school and have that sense of community. So I don't know if the draw for her, well, first of all, she's a whole different student, but she'll already have that big sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
Like Carter already has a sense of community. So I don't think he needs, and I don't really want him joining fraternity, but I think it's really good for some people who've never had that sense of community before. Right. And I think that a lot of times in our society, we don't have that sense of small community because they don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like our girls have had Girl Scouts. So they have that small sense of community that they've had since they were in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people in a lot of places don't have those opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe those people will tend to maybe go out in the world and seek those sororities and fraternities for that sense of community.
Help create their own community in a big school.
Yeah. Yes, it could be that. It could be the opposite. It also, people who are used to a small community create another small community within the context of a large one because universities are huge.
And I do think
of them.
It's the schools where the Greek system is the most popular and the biggest are at big schools.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Because you have to create some sort of social network within those giant schools.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if anybody in any of our friend groups joins one to listen and see how it's different.
I know, maybe we'll be writing Kappa Delta letters, although they don't want to hear from me.
Oh my God, Katie ladies.
They'll be like, wait, the girl who went alumni after 1.5 years? No, thank you.
Right? I don't know what my status was.
I think now that I think about it, I think I went alumni after 1.5 years because what happened was I was allowed to because when I went back sophomore year, I didn't take a full schedule. And if you're not taking a full schedule, it was like a loophole.
Mm-hmm.
You could go alumni.
Well, I never graduated, so I'm assuming I'm not an alumni.
No, I don't think that's true.
I think it is true. I think you do have to graduate to be an alumni.
I know.
Oh, maybe that's why you don't get the magazine.
I don't get anything from Katie. I don't.
But I graduated from a school where there was no Kappa Delta. You know?
But you were already at alumni status.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So you never even went alumni status. You just left.
I just left, and I informed them that I was a social affiliate to AD Pi. So they knew that happened because I was out of school.
Maybe that.
But I never graduated. I think it's because I never graduated.
Well, I know people that haven't graduated, and I still think that they have alumni status.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I feel like once you're in, you're in. Once you're a sister, you're always a
I'll
sister.
still have the letters.
As long as you don't leave in bad standing.
No, I don't think I left in bad
standing.
standing.
You're wearing pearls next time. Yeah.
I would know.
I think you'd get a letter from National saying that you're in bad standing.
No, I don't remember doing that.
I don't think that.
Yeah, no, I think you're still. I'm sure someone from Kappa Delta is listening and we'll look into this for you.
I'm still a Katie lady. Okay.
Do you guys remember any of the other songs other than the one I did?
No. I don't remember anything.
All right. So my sophomore year, we lived across the street from the Delta Gamma house. Mm-hmm. And I just remember during Rush, we were all sitting out on the front patio every day during Rush and would hear the same songs over and over again. And I don't remember what the actual words were to the song, but we would change the words to their songs all the time. And I just remember one of them was like, I'm Delta again born and Delta again bred. And then we changed it to, and when I get old, I'll be Delta again dead. But that wasn't the real word.
That's funny. That's funny.
Again, I went to Panhellenic because I didn't want to rush and learn all those songs. So
I would literally sit drinking on our front porch and watch Delta Gamma Rush all day long.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
No, I didn't do Rush either. I never did it. When they started all those show tunes, I was like, yeah, I'm out. I can't do that. No. And all the dresses, the gunny sack dresses with the big bib. Remember those big, the drop waist gunny sack lace doily that we would wear?
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, I found we were in Oregon and George and I went to a thrift shop and there was a gunny sack dress in there that had the big bib. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Totally.
The lace trim and the drop waist, the big bow.
Did
And
you
I
buy
showed it to her. No, I just showed it to her. I was like, can you believe we used to wear that? And she went, I actually cannot.
Oh,
I was like, yeah.
You guys, the amount of Laura Ashley I wore, I was like a flower bomb.
I never wore Laura Ashley.
No, our receiving room, our couches were these floral monstrosities. It was awful. I was like, what are we doing here, ladies?
I'm sure they still do that. I mean, I've had with my old job, the designers who were doing fraternities and sororities.
Oh, yeah?
They hire interior designers.
Wow.
Yeah, thank God we did not have one.
Yeah.
I mean, we needed one.
And who are doing
thank God they have
fraternity and sororities. And I'd always be like, well, you're going to need some really fabric resistant.
Yes,
right? You need something that's durable.
Really durable. Yeah.
Really durable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for talking to me about sororities. Thank you. It was fun.
It was fun.
It was nice to see you guys.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
Sisters.
I know. We're sisters forever. That's so crazy. We should just start throwing socials. Katie socials.
Just don't make me pass a teddy bear around and we'll be good.
I know. Now I know what to get you. So if you wake up one morning and there's a teddy bear on your porch, you know where it came from.
No, the teddy bear will be in your driveway. It'll be in your
driveway.
That is literally my new term. Whenever it always happens. You're out doing something and you see someone.
You're like,
I'm just gonna be like driveway. I'm gonna teach my daughter it so she knows what it means, and we're just gonna walk the other way.
Driveway. I cannot believe we are all three KDs. That is so crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy. Well,
because mine wasn't huge. Like mine was a smaller house on campus.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know anyone down here. Actually, there's one girl that is in San Bernardino. She used to work with me.
Yeah.
And she was in the sorority, but she's also like me, like driveway.
Right?
Yeah.
Driveway. That's really funny. All right. Well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. All right.